There comes a moment in every life when the mirror becomes a battlefield, not because of what we see, but because of what we've settled for. The lines on our face, the weight in our eyes, the silence in our spirit. They don't just reflect age, they reflect choices. The good news, you're not trapped. You're just uninformed. You don't need a decade to transform. You need 7 days of radical honesty, fierce discipline, and a decision so strong it shatters your past. The old you is overdrawn. It's time to introduce the world to someone they've never met you. Let me tell you something I've learned after a lifetime of watching people rise and fall. It doesn't take long to change. It only takes seriousness. Not someday, not eventually. This week, you give me 7 days, and I'll show you how to walk, think, speak, and live in a way that even your reflection won't recognize you anymore. People often come up to me and say, if I just had more time, I'd finally change my life. And I always smile gently, because I know they don't have a time problem, they have a decision problem. Time is the great equalizer. We all get 24 hours. The rich, the poor, the wise, the wasteful, we all start the day with the same measure. So the question isn't, do I have enough time? The question is, have I made up my mind? Because once a person truly decides, everything begins to move. I remember the year everything changed for me. I was sitting in a small apartment, bills stacked up like bad habits, and I caught myself blaming the economy, my circumstances, even the weather. But in a rare moment of honesty, I realized the problem wasn't out there. It was in here. It wasn't that I lacked time or opportunity. I lacked seriousness. And when I finally said, that's it, no more excuses, that was the moment the old version of me began to die and a new one started to live. A decision is a powerful thing. It's not a wish. It's not a hope. It's not, I'll try. It's the moment you draw a line in the sand and say, this stops here. The man who wants to build wealth doesn't wait until the calendar is clear. He decides that this is the week. This is the hour. This is the moment that matters. Everything great begins with that moment. Now, don't confuse movement with progress. People run around all day being busy but never decide anything. They stay in the same place, just more tired. But the man who decides cuts through noise like a blade. He moves differently, speaks with certainty, acts without hesitation. And you know what happens next? Life starts responding. Doors appear where walls once stood. And that's why your breakthrough isn't waiting at the end of the year, it's waiting at the end of your indecision. Let me tell you something simple but powerful. If you can take control of the first hour of your day, you'll be amazed how quickly you can take control of your entire life. The first hour isn't just another 60 minutes, it's the compass. And if the compass is broken, don't be surprised when you end up lost. When I was young and struggling, I didn't understand this. I'd wake up late, rush through the morning, let the world dictate my mood, and then wonder why my day felt like it owned me instead of the other way around. It wasn't until I started treating that first hour with the seriousness it deserved that everything else began to shift. I realized the first hour was mine. It didn't belong to the alarm clock, to the boss, or to the chaos of the world. It belonged to me, and I'd been giving it away like loose change. You see, when you wake up and immediately scroll through nonsense or dive into distractions, you've already surrendered your authority. But when you rise with intention, drink a glass of water like it matters. Move your body like it deserves strength. Write your goals like they were written in stone. And speak life into the day. You send a signal to your mind that today has purpose. And where purpose walks in, confusion walks out. There's something else. The discipline you apply to your mornings, it spills over. If you're careless in the first hour, chances are you'll be careless in the 4th, the 7th, the 10th. But if you win early, you carry that rhythm forward. It's like building a fire. If you light it strong at the start, it burns steady through the coldest parts of the day. And let me remind you, wealth is not built in hours of chaos. It's built in moments of clarity. So guard that first hour like it's the boardroom of your future, because it is. Win it, and you've already set the terms for how the rest of the day will play out. Sometimes people come to me and ask, where do I begin? There's so much I need to fix. And I tell them, don't try to fix everything, just kill one weak habit. Not later, not next week, today. Because you don't become unrecognizable by piling on 10 new habits, you begin the transformation by removing just one thing that's been quietly draining your power. Let me tell you, the habits you tolerate are the walls of the prison you live in. Back when I was flat broke, I thought the problem was my paycheck. No, the problem was the tiny habits I thought didn't matter. Hitting snooze 5 times, skipping the reading, speaking doubt out loud. These weren't just small flaws, they were termites in the structure of my life. And when I started removing them one at a time, I realized how much stronger I could become without dragging dead weight into every day. There was a time when I used to snack late into the night, telling myself, it's harmless. But I wasn't just feeding hunger, I was feeding procrastination, indulgence, weakness. The moment I cut that one habit, I didn't just sleep better. I woke up sharper, thought clearer, and began treating my body like a vessel for my vision. You don't need 20 changes. You need to look yourself in the mirror and say, that habit right there, it dies today. Whether it's scrolling aimlessly, negative self-talk, making excuses, skipping workouts, or gossiping, choose one. Eliminate it completely, like you're pulling poison from a well you're about to drink from. Don't manage it. Don't reduce it. Remove it. Asterisk. Asterisk. And here's the miracle. Once that one habit is gone, you realize you're not as stuck as you thought. You're not powerless. You're not your past. You're a builder, not a victim. And every builder knows the first thing to do before construction begins is clear the debris. So clear it. Because what you remove today makes room for who you become tomorrow. You can always tell a lot about a person by how they move. Not just where they go, but how they go. The way you carry yourself, your posture, your pace, your presence. It's a reflection of how seriously you take your own life. And I'll tell you this from experience. If you want to become unrecognizable in 1 week, you can't walk like you've got all the time in the world. You have to move like a man on a mission. There was a time when I walked through life casually, and I was getting casual. Results broke, uncertain, drifting. But when I started to move with purpose, everything changed. I stood taller, walked faster, shook hands with intention, and suddenly, opportunity started to notice me. Not because the world changed, but because I did. I stopped waiting for energy and started generating it. You don't have to be an athlete to move like a leader. I'm not asking you to spend 3 hours in the gym. I'm asking you to engage your body like it matters. Stretch with focus. Breathe with intention. Take a walk like it's going somewhere. Because when the body starts moving with energy, the mind starts catching fire. The body is not just a vehicle, it's a message. It says, I'm alive, I'm present, I'm building. And let's not forget, movement creates momentum. If you're stuck mentally, chances are your body's been idle too long. Get up, do something. Push-ups, a walk around the block, dancing in the living room if that's what it takes. Just don't sit and wait for motivation to knock. Movement brings motivation, not the other way around. I learned early on, slumped shoulders build slumped results. But when you square your chest, lift your head, and move with that quiet fire, you start to become someone people watch. More importantly, you become someone you respect. So don't just live the week. Lead it with every step you take. Let me tell you something that changed everything for me, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I stopped letting everyone talk to me. I stopped letting the world pour its noise into my head first thing in the morning and last thing at night. Because if you want to become unrecognizable in 1 week, you've got to protect what goes in because it shapes what comes out. The mind is like a garden. What you plant, you grow. What you allow, you harvest. And too many people, without realizing it, are growing weeds, scrolling through nonsense, arguing with strangers, soaking in negativity from people who haven't built anything themselves. And then they wonder why their dreams feel cloudy, their energy feels low, and their decisions feel weak. I'll tell you why. It's because they've been feeding their minds junk and expecting clarity. When I was just starting out, I made a simple change. I replaced 15 minutes of news in the morning with 15 minutes of reading something that challenged my thinking. And in just a few days, I could feel the difference. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was thinking. I wasn't chasing noise. I was choosing signal. Now listen, this isn't just about media. It's about your whole environment. Who do you talk to? Who do you listen to? What kind of language surrounds you every day? Some people think they're being loyal by staying connected to people who constantly complain, gossip, or discourage, but that's not loyalty. That's self-sabotage. You're not obligated to stay mentally poisoned just to keep people comfortable. You don't stumble into success. You build it. And just like a builder doesn't show up to the job site with a hope and a hammer, you can't show up to life with good intentions and expect great results. You need a plan, a real one that lives on paper, not just in your head. Because when you write it down, it starts to take form. It becomes visible, measurable, and possible. When I was living check to check, trying to figure out how to climb out of the rut I was in, I learned something critical. My day was too loose. No structure, no priorities, just bouncing from task to task and calling it effort. But once I started treating my day like a blueprint, setting specific times, writing out clear objectives, and sticking to them, my results multiplied. And I don't mean over months. I mean within days. That's how powerful planning is. I always tell people, don't trust memory, trust ink. When you write your intentions down the night before, your mind starts working on them while you sleep. You wake up with direction instead of distraction. You're no longer guessing what to do. You're executing. And execution, my friend, is what separates the dreamers from the achievers. You don't have to plan every second, but you must plan what matters. Your priorities, your goals, the hard tasks, and not someday, today. Asterisk. If you don't tell your day what to do, someone else will. The distractions are waiting. The time wasters are ready. So beat them to it. Plan like a builder, not with emotion, but with structure, precision, and purpose. And here's what I found: when you live with a plan, you live with confidence. You walk taller because you're no longer reacting, you're creating. You're not surviving the day, you're shaping it. And one well-planned day leads to another, until the man who used to live by chance starts to live by design. And when that happens, you don't just look different, you are different. So now you know transformation doesn't take a lifetime. It takes a decision. It takes 7 days of discipline, 7 days of clarity, 7 days of showing up differently. You don't need more permission. You don't need a new calendar. What you need is already within you. You've just been waiting for the right voice to remind you that you are the builder of your own future. Asterisk. This week, yes. This one right here can be the one that people look back on and say, that's when everything changed for him. That's when she decided she was done playing small. But more importantly, it's the week you look back on and say, that's when I met the stronger version of me. So here's your call to action. Asterisk, asterisk. Don't let this speech inspire you and then disappear. Let it mark you. Let it move you. Let it ignite a fire you refuse to put out. Asterisk, asterisk. Take control of your morning. Remove one weak habit. Plan like a builder. Choose discomfort. Walk with intensity. And speak like you've already won. Because if you do, I promise 7 days from now, even you won't recognize the person staring back in the mirror. Let the transformation begin.